Hi there, everybody. I'm Mr. Gawreluk, and I have a book that I'd like to read to you called Weathering and Erosion. Pretty exciting book, and you're going to love it. Stay awake. Before we get reading, have you ever thought what the earth is made of? You ever thought of, what's around us? What makes the earth unique? And then have you ever thought about how rocks get their shapes? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. And then, how do you think mountains and valleys are made? How in the world do mountains and valleys? Now, if you've watched other videos of mine, we've talked about mountains. We've talked about how plate tectonics can smash into one another and cause an uprising of the land, or one goes over the top of another. And I don't know what my hand thing is doing here, but anyway, that's one thing. We've also talked about valleys and how water plays a part in that. This bridge is in Utah. Weathering and erosion formed this bridge. It is not a surfboard. That is rock, and people aren't allowed to go up there. What are weathering and erosion? And how do weathering and erosion change the land? We're going to read to learn more. And these are some of the words you're going to need to know. Delta, erosion, formation, rocks, sand, sediment, soil, and weathering. We're off to a good start, aren't we? What are weathering and erosion? Well, if you can see that, weathering slowly breaks down rocks into tiny pieces. The tiny pieces are sand and soil. Sand and soil are sediment. The erosion moves the sediment away. Now, erosion can happen with water and wind. This soil is a type of sediment, and this soil was once rock. That was once, wrong way. That was once rock. I have to think backwards here. I'm having a hard time with that. This sand was once a type of sediment. This sand was once rock. Maybe it was called sandstone. Just a thought. There was a large rock long ago. I'm sorry, this was a large rock. Once upon a time, there was a large rock a long time ago. No, this is a large rock from that's been around a long time. Weathering broke tiny pieces from this rock, and erosion moved the tiny pieces away. Weathering and erosion created this arch formation. I bet that's in Utah too, because there's a national park called Arches National Park. You should check it out. You should ask your teacher to take you on a field trip there when this whole pandemic is done. I bet your teacher would love to take you and your whole class on an all expenses paid field trip. How does water cause weathering and erosion? Rain falls on rocks. Rain breaks some of the rocks. Rain breaks the rocks into sediment, and rain weathers those rocks. Also, in the winter, we get cold weather, and that water turns into ice, and that ice expands. When ice is created, hi kid in the orange, ice expands and can break things apart. Rain breaks the rocks into sediments. See that? Those are raindrops. Rain moves the sediment to other places, and rain erodes the sediment. Rain erodes the sediment. Weathering and erosion created that formation. It's pretty neat. Rainwater causes weathering and erosion. The Colorado River is in the Grand Canyon. The Colorado River breaks the rocks into tiny pieces, and the river weathers the rocks. The Colorado River moves the sediment to other places, and the river erodes that sediment. The Grand Canyon is about 6 million years old, and I think your teacher probably saw the beginning of it. Hold on. No, that's not very nice. Your teacher isn't old. Your teacher isn't 6 million years old. Maybe a different age, but not 6 million. I'd like to go to that place someday. I want to stand right on top and say, I'm the king of the world. And you know who else would like to go up there? Hi, I'd like to go up there too. Is it okay if a doll goes up there? I bet it's okay, Greta. We could throw you up there. We could launch you with one of those cannons and put you right up there. Oh, that'd be great. Okay, consider it done, Greta. The Nile River causes erosion. The Nile River moves water, or its water moves sediment. The Nile River is located in Africa. That Nile River moves sediment to the delta, and the sediment makes the delta. The delta is a huge area of land. Mr. G, that's amazing. Wow, this is so interesting. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Just doing my best. Ocean waves cause weathering and erosion. Ocean waves break rocks into small pieces. The small pieces are sand. Sand is sediment. Ocean waves move sand to the beaches, and the sand makes new beaches. You know what I'm starting to sense here? Is a pattern. None of the sand, none of this water can leave the earth. It just seems like all it does is move around. Have you ever noticed that? It just moves around. That's it. Water pushes it along. Wind pushes it along. Kids with big feet push it along. Dogs push it along. Teachers with big feet push it along. Look at those footprints. Which teacher do you think made those footprints? I have a couple guesses. No, not me. My family won't let me go to the ocean without them. That wasn't me. Maybe that's from Star Wars. Maybe those are bantha tracks from Star Wars. Mandalorian or the old Star Wars. How does the ice cause weathering and erosion? Here's that ice I was telling you about. Rocks have cracks. Rain gets into those cracks of the rocks. The water freezes. The water is ice. I thought I heard somebody over there. I was going to invite them over. The ice gets larger. The ice makes the cracks larger. The rocks break into tiny pieces and rain moves it away. Look at that. That is a beautiful place. These rocks are called hoodoos. Weathering and erosion made these formations, and this is another spot in Utah called Bryce Canyon. Raise your hand if you've been to Bryce Canyon. Ask your teacher. I bet they'll take you on a field trip there. In fact, I think I'll get my magic 8-ball. I'll let the magic 8-ball decide if your teacher's going to take you. All right, magic 8-ball. Should the teacher take all these kids to all these really cool places? It is decidedly so. Okay, just ask your teacher. I'm sure they'll say yes because the magic 8-ball said that. Magic 8-ball's never wrong, right? Glaciers. Let's talk about glaciers. Glaciers cause weathering and erosion. Glaciers are huge areas of ice. Glaciers are heavy and they move slow. Well, glaciers break rocks. They make sediment, and they move that sediment. Cool glaciers. I wonder if they have a glacier national park in our country. I bet they do. It should be in Montana. Raise your hand if you've ever been to Glacier National Park. You should ask your teachers to take you. Knowing how much they care about you, I bet they would. All right, so valley glaciers move about 1 to 2 feet each day. I mean, that's like 7 feet after a week. Maybe as much as 14. That's a lot. 14 feet for a glacier? How far do glaciers move in 1 year? I don't know. How many days are there in a year? 1 billion? Then they must move 1 billion feet, or 365, or double that. I don't know. There's your glaciers. Again. All right. We're getting close to the end. I know that you love this book, and you're going to feel sad when I'm done. And you're probably mad at me right now because I don't have any jokes about the book, but I feel like I'm making a joke out of the whole book. I mean, I feel like the book is like allowing me to be funny. All right. How does wind cause weathering and erosion? Wind blows against the rocks, and the sand weathers the rocks. The wind blows the sediment to other places, and the wind erodes the settlement. Now, these are pinnacles, and these are rock formations. I'm going to show you. Wind blew sand against these rocks, and the sand weathered the rocks. Now the rock formations are pinnacles. Boy, that looks like Utah also. Doesn't that look like a place that your teacher could take you? I don't know. I bet if you ask nicely, You could replace the dog in the car. Sand dunes are piles of sediment, and wind blows sand into those dunes. All right, in summary, because we are talking about summarization in wonders, so a summary page is a good thing to have, don't you think? And some of you are saying, well, why didn't they just have this as the book? Well, look at all the detail we got out of these other pages. That's why we have a full book rather than just a summary. Weathering and erosion change the land. Water causes weathering and erosion, and ice causes weathering and erosion. Wind does too. What are weathering and erosion? It's when you're breaking rocks into sediment and that sediment is moved away. How does water cause weathering and erosion? Well, rain and rivers and ocean waves do it, and they carry sediment away. How does ice cause weathering and erosion? Ice cracks the rock, and the rock becomes sediment. And the wind and water move the sediment away. Glaciers do that too. Glaciers do. How does wind and weathering cause erosion? Well, they blow sand against those rocks, and it acts like a little scraper, and it blows sediment away to other places. So it seems as though our Earth, things are just like breaking down and building up and moving around, and it's not like it's floating out to space. So who knows where things are going? You'd think everything would just end up flat. But plate tectonics doesn't allow for that. Here's a delta picture. Here's some erosion. Okay. Sand. What is sand? Well, you should ask your teacher. Sediment. Sediment. It's sand and soil. Here's a formation in a pinnacle. Here's solid material made of minerals. Here's that soil. Erosion moves soil. And weathering that formed that surfboard-looking arch right there. I'll tell you, this book has been amazing. I just love reading this book. When you're done reading, if you have paper and pencil or staples and crayons, markers, you could work with a partner, someone at home, discuss the different shapes of that land, make an erosion picture dictionary, draw a picture of and label each image, and put your picture dictionary in alphabetical order. Alphabetical order, that seems so hard. These are some of the things that you could put in there. Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for taking this little journey with me today to talk about weathering and erosion. Remember, if you're being really good, ask your teacher to take you all on a field trip to see these things. Have a good day, y'all.